In 1785, a single necklace, dripping with 647 diamonds and worth more than a French warship, nearly toppled a kingdom. One audacious con fooled a cardinal, shattered a queen's reputation, and set fire to the fuse of revolution. Marie Antoinette never even touched this necklace, but it destroyed her anyway. This is the story of the Queen's necklace affair, how a woman born on the streets spun a lie so perfect it brought Versailles to its knees and turned whispers into the storm that doomed a monarchy. It was a river of light, more than 2,800 carats of fire, commissioned in 1772 by Louis XV for his infamous mistress, Madame du Barry. But before the jewelers, Boehmer and Bassange, could finish, the king died. Louis XVI banished du Barry, and the necklace became unsellable. So the jewelers turned to the new queen, Marie Antoinette. But she had learned restraint, or at least how to appear restrained. She declined. "We need warships, not necklaces," she said. But the jewel remained, untouched, a glittering curse, waiting for someone desperate and dangerous enough to use it. Jeanne de Valois-Saint-Remy was born to nothing but a name, a descendant of royalty through an illegitimate branch, raised in poverty, filled with rage. She married a minor officer and called herself a Comtesse, but Versailles turned her away. Marie Antoinette refused to meet her. That snub would fester like poison. Jeanne didn't want an apology. She wanted revenge, and Versailles was about to give her the perfect stage. Cardinal Louis de Rohan was a man with power, wealth, and no access to the Queen. Years ago, he insulted Empress Maria Theresa, Marie Antoinette's mother. Since then, the Queen had frozen him out, but Rohan was desperate to return to her favor. He believed that her approval was his path to becoming chief minister. That desperation made him blind. And Jeanne? She saw him not as an obstacle, but as an opening. Jeanne befriended Rohan. She whispered that she was close to the Queen, that Antoinette wanted reconciliation, but it had to remain secret. To prove it, she began passing letters between them, letters dripping with royal charm, some flirtatious, all fake. They weren't from Marie Antoinette. They were written by Jeanne's accomplice, Rétaux de Villette, a skilled forger who mimicked the Queen's handwriting flawlessly. But there was one fatal flaw. The Queen would never sign her name Marie Antoinette de France, only her first name. A real courtier should have noticed, but Rohan wanted to believe, so he didn't. The cardinal wanted a meeting, so Jeanne gave him one. Late one night in the Grove of Venus, Versailles' most secluded garden, a veiled woman stood in silence. She handed Rohan a rose, whispered, "You are forgiven." It was not Marie Antoinette. It was Nicole d'Oliva, a young prostitute who bore a passing resemblance to the Queen. Rohan fell to his knees. The con was complete. Jeanne now made her final move. She handed Rohan a new letter from the Queen. It said she desired the diamond necklace, desperately, but not openly. The people were angry, the treasury bare. She needed him to buy it for her, secretly. She would, of course, pay him back in installments. It was the ultimate favor, and Rohan, the faithful servant, agreed. On January 29, 1785, the jewelers delivered the necklace to Cardinal Rohan. A few hours later, a man in royal livery arrived to collect it. But he was no valet. He was the forger, Villette, in disguise. The necklace was never brought to Versailles. It was brought to Jeanne. Jeanne and her husband Nicolas tore the necklace apart. 647 diamonds, each pried from its setting. They sold them one by one across Europe, in London, in Amsterdam, in smoky taverns and velvet parlors. The money flowed like champagne. Jeanne bought estates, silks, status. Rohan waited for the Queen to appear in public, wearing the necklace he had secured for her. She never did, and that silence would cost him everything. Months passed. No payment came. The jewelers, terrified, went straight to the palace. They wrote a letter asking the Queen, "Where's our money?" Marie Antoinette was horrified. She burned the letter, thought it a scam. But the next message got through, and the Queen realized someone had dragged her name through the mud. August 15th, 1785. Feast of the Assumption. Cardinal Rohan arrived for High Mass, glittering in scarlet. He never made it to the altar. The King and Queen confronted him, demanding an explanation. He handed over the forged letters. Louis XVI read the signature and exploded. Right then, in the Hall of Mirrors, Rohan was arrested. In front of the entire court, France erupted. The arrest of a prince of the church in public on holy ground. It was a scandal beyond imagination. Rohan was sent to the Bastille. Jeanne was arrested soon after. The forger, Villette, too. Even Nicole, the prostitute turned queen for a minute, was dragged into it. But the public didn't blame them. They blamed the Queen. The trial became a national obsession. Marie Antoinette, though innocent, was tried in the court of public opinion. Rohan, a holy man unjustly jailed. Jeanne, a pawn, she claimed, in the Queen's revenge plot. The Queen, a villain, a liar, a decadent foreigner. Truth didn't matter. Perception ruled. May 31st, 1786. The court acquitted Rohan. The crowd outside cheered like it was Bastille Day. Jeanne was found guilty, branded with a V for voleuse, thief. She struggled so violently, the iron struck her breast. Villette was exiled. Nicole released. The Queen was cleared legally, but convicted forever in the eyes of the people. The damage was irreversible. Pamphlets mocked Marie Antoinette as a seductress, a thief, a foreign parasite. Songs, satire, and lies piled higher than the palace itself. She had never touched the necklace, but in the minds of her subjects, she wore it with pride. Jeanne escaped from prison in 1787. Disguised as a boy, she fled to London. There, she wrote explosive memoirs accusing the Queen of orchestrating everything. They were fiction, but the public devoured them. Her lies continued to destroy Marie Antoinette. The affair didn't cause the French Revolution, but it poured gasoline on dry timber. It turned Marie Antoinette into Madame Deficit, turned doubt into hatred, turned Versailles into a symbol of rot. And all from a necklace she never wore. In the end, it wasn't a sword or a rebellion that first cracked the crown. It was a lie, a forged letter, a moonlit rose, and 647 stolen diamonds. Sometimes, history turns not on war, but on whispers. The echoes of this scandal still cling to the walls of Versailles. Stand in the Grove of Venus, where moonlight once bathed a veiled impostor, and a powerful man mistook fantasy for forgiveness. Wander through the Hall of Mirrors, where Rohan's arrest shattered the silence of royal power with the clang of betrayal. In Paris, the Bastille is gone, but its stones remember. And in London's misted streets, where Jeanne de la Motte fled in disguise, her words still linger between the shelves of old bookshops, memoirs written not to confess, but to condemn. The story lives on, not just in archives, but in footsteps, in the glint of diamonds that were scattered like seeds across Europe, in the silence between truth and belief. And if you wish to dive deeper, follow the whispers. Read Francis Mossica's The Queen's Necklace or Antonia Fraser's Marie Antoinette, The Journey. Watch The Affair of the Necklace, where fact dances with fiction beneath the chandeliers. Because history, when tarnished by lies, shines differently. And sometimes the ghosts speak loudest through what was never worn, but never forgotten. If you found this hidden chapter of history as riveting as we did, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. We're bringing you more stories like this, where scandal, power, and consequence collide. This was episode 4 of Echoes of the Guillotine.